Testing, testing. Can you hear me, Brian?
I can hear you, Deb.
Thank you.
All right, ready? I'm going to go ahead and call the Finance Committee meeting to order. I apologize for us starting a little bit late. It seems that it rains and it accumulates traffic on the days of the Finance Committee more often than not. Will the Secretary please take the roll?
Director Deere is absent. Director Harrington?
Present.
Director Robinson?
Present.
Director Story is absent. Chair Ryder, do
Here.
you have a quorum?
Thank you, Debbie. do we have any directors joining us remotely?
I do not see anyone
Okay.
joined at this time.
Obviously, because they're all here, the ones that are here, except for, it doesn't look like Dennis is here,
I
right?
do expect Odin.
Oh, okay.
Dennis will not be here.
Okay, all right. The next regular meeting of the Finance Committee is scheduled for Thursday, November 9th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Debbie, do we have any public testimony?
We did not receive any registrations, nor did we receive any written testimony.
All right, great. Is there anyone who is here for public testimony? Seeing that no one's present requesting public testimony, I would also like to acknowledge that Director Story has just joined us. I guess that brings us right to our first action item, which is the September 14th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting minutes. These were approved by the board at the September meeting, but are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Any corrections? Any corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
There's a motion to accept item 3A, the September 14, 2023 Finance Committee meeting minutes. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and it's properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We're now going to move to items under the Chief Procurement Officer. Our Chief Procurement Officer is approaching the presentation table, Charles Jones, and it looks like Dr. Hasbrook is joining him, our Chief Operating Officer for the Cook County Department of Public Health. Charles, do you have any opening statements?
Yes, sir. Just a little housekeeping. Good morning, Charles Jones, Chief
Good morning.
Procurement Officer, Cook County Health. 25 items before you today. All 25 require responsive letters from the Office of Contract Compliance. We have 8 back with 17 outstanding. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hasbrook.
All right, Dr. Hasbrook. Yes, take it away and go ahead and present all 4 in order as I get up for 1 second. So you
Will do. Thank you. And good morning, Chair Ryder and directors. So we have 4, as has been mentioned. The first one is an extended increased contract. The vendor is, who is this? Oh, Clark Environmental Mosquito Management. And this is for the amount of $406,000. It is grant funded. It is for mosquito abatement services. So the traps, the testing mosquitoes and all the placing larvicides, et cetera. This is 36 months to extend through June of 26. No questions, I'll go to the next one. So the next 3 are similar in that they are all grant funded, same federal grant source, which is HUD, Housing Urban Development. They're all to do the same scope of work, which is to address the lead hazard remediation. They're all being presented to this committee because these small amounts would go over the 150 threshold. So the first one is, the vendor is West Suburban Housing Development Corporation, and it's an amended increase for the amount of $45,000. The next one, again, same funding source, grant funded HUD for mosquito abatement. It is Next Move is the vendor, and it's for $36,000. And then the last one same scope of work is to Northwest Housing Partnership, and that's for the amount of $27,000. And that concludes my four.
Dr. Hasbro.
Yes.
Not for me, but for the lay public, could you explain the importance and the purpose of mosquito abatement?
Sure. So there are a number of what we call vector-borne diseases. So those are things that are diseases that are transmitted through either mosquitoes or in some cases ticks, Lyme disease. West Nile virus is the thing that we're most concerned about during mosquito season. We're just reaching the peak of West Nile virus for the state, and that will begin to slope over the next few months. So mosquito abatement is basically just controlling the population of mosquitoes through larvicides, traps. We collect the mosquitoes from the traps to be able to test them to see what their percent positivity rate is for West Nile virus, the traps. And so that's an ongoing activity. Again, it's peaking. It's about to peter out over the next few months.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that was, just for the record, audio record, that was Director Harrington. Thank you for asking that, Joe. I know you knew the answer to it, but I think it's important for people to understand why we do mosquito abatement, and also any new type of, disease or virus that makes its way here. Sometimes we don't know it's coming until it's already arrived and permeating the community. So, any other questions for Dr. Hasbrook? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Lamar. We're going to now move to request items number 5 through 9. We're going to hear from Dr. Claudia Deegan, our Chief Medical Officer.
Good morning, directors.
Morning.
Good morning.
The first item number 5, is a extension of the NeuroCare contract. This is to provide sleep laboratory services for our patients. There's no fiscal impact. This is an extension of a contract that was generated with RFP in 2017, and we have later on the other contract with the new funds required. The next one is Boston Scientific. These are disposable items that we need in the cardiac cath lab for doing the variety of procedures and implants, including TAVR, the transaortic aortic valve replacement. So this is in the amount of $4.8 million. This is through the GPO. The next item is the NeuroCare contract, which will be providing the sleep labs services for sleep lab services going forward. We do these sleep studies. We have a percentage of population that has sleep apnea that would not be diagnosed without this. We believe that sleep apnea is one of the reversible causes of hypertension, so it's important that we do these studies. And this is provides the staff and services for that for our patients. The next contract is Optimus Hospitals. This is to provide neonatal services for Humboldt Health. We're currently providing neonatologists. The hope is that we will be able to hire advanced practice nurses to provide the staffing to provide neonatal coverage at Humboldt Health. And this is to provide the staff we need to provide those services until we can hire permanent employees. And the last contract is for Lincoln Park Dialysis, and these are hemodialysis services that we provide for our detainees who are at CERMAC.
Any questions for Dr. Deegan on any of the items 5 through 9? Charles, you have a question for Claudia?
No question, but I would like for the record to state for request number 7, NeuroCare, this should state that the request has 2 one-year renewal options. So we need that too. Thank you.
I appreciate that no one laughed, especially you, Charles, when I said that. But any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Dr. Deegan. Up next is request number 10, being presented by Shannon Andrews, our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. Morning, Shannon.
Good morning, and for the record, I laughed.
What's that?
For the record, I did laugh.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. You're sitting all the way in the back. I just didn't see you.
Yeah, there was an audible laugh in the back. Thank you. My name is Shannon Andrews, Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. The first item that I have in front of you is a request to extend and increase a contract with Deloitte Consulting for supply chain optimization consulting. This one-year extension, not to exceed $2.3 million, would continue to assist with day-to-day processing of contracts and amendments, as well as the final rollout of the transformative organizational work that we began with them a little over a year ago. The next item before you is a request to execute a new contract with Global Healthcare Exchange, GHX. This is something that we're doing in partnership with our friends in HIS, the Chief Information Officer, Angela O'Banion. This is a information technology services for both hardware and software. GHX, from the hardware perspective, provides the vendor-made kiosks that we find throughout the organization that collects information on our vendors and provide temporary badging for vendors who are visiting. In addition, the software technology allows for integration with various CCH systems, including our ERP system, which allows for requisitioning and e-invoicing integration. This contract is for 3 years, not to exceed $1,620,204. It does include 2 one-year renewal options.
Great.
Thank you.
And that's it. No one has any questions for Shannon, right? Thank you, Shannon. I'm just making sure. You already, I would expect that Pam laughed too.
All right, good morning, Director. Pam Cassell, Chief Financial Officer. We have one item for you, before you today, specifically for RevCycle. This is a request to increase the contract with Guidehouse in amount not to exceed $1.6 million. As you may recall, Guidehouse is providing revenue cycle support for us, for the operational team, and while we continue to recruit for coding, billing, collections, and authorization operations. Any questions?
Any questions for Pam? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Request number 13, Angela O'Banion, our Chief Information Officer.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Angela.
First item is for Evident Technology, formerly known as Atos. The item before you is a staff augmentation and other development, our OneSource Enterprise initiative. As you all know, the majority, a huge percentage of the IT department is outsourced, and it is outsourced via an RFP from several years ago. And we are asking for a one-year extension for this Evident Atos contract, which supplies our resources for cybersecurity, networking, our clinical analysts, nearly every area of our department has resources under this contract.
Any questions for Angela on request 13?
Is there a plan in place for what happens after the year?
Yes, so in full transparency, I'm likely to come to you again in a year and ask for an additional extension. The main reason for that is these resources are trained specifically on major systems, all of which expire in the next 2 to 3 years, including our electronic medical record. So it would behoove the organization to do all of those at one time instead of issuing an RFP and awarding a vendor and then having to train them in one system and possibly 2 years later train them in another. So it's likely that we will ask for an additional extension until such point as we make our permanent decision on our future state electronic medical record, which contract along with it and a few other major systems expire in 2025.
So that would bring a series of contracts into alignment for a master contract for all of them.
That is correct. Many of the systems, including the one that we have, and their upgraded systems require specific certification of the employees that are actually working on those systems.
Quick question, Angela. If that's the case, why is this just a 1 year as opposed to just 2 years, since you're going to eventually consolidate all the service contracts into one master agreement?
I would assume that
Right.
the provision for 1-year extensions.
By direction of our procurement, typically what we've been doing is only asking for a year at a time when we are not, when we are past that original contract date, and you have exhausted all amendments.
So it's more of just a procedure?
Charles?
Yes, in this case, it's best to do, 1 year at a time, and see, where we need to be, in a year's time, and especially with the allocation of the funds. So we've already, this contract started in 2016. So at this point, we're 7 years in.
I think probably for our practice, doing one at a time in case there's changed circumstances before we get things to alignment. And I don't, does the contract specifically, does our common language provide for 1-year extensions?
Initially from the RFP award, however, from a executive leadership standpoint or a CPO standpoint, we could entertain other options at times.
Okay.
So right now, again, we're looking to make this, as Mr. Banya said, coterminous with the EMR contract, and look forward afterwards, because these are generally, quite large dollar contracts.
Okay.
Is there any intent to bring it in-house in the foreseeable future?
We have been, over the last few years, bringing these positions, percentage of these positions in-house over time. Some departments, as you know, Director Robinson, are very difficult to maintain the level of skill and knowledge. We're not a cybersecurity company, right? So we want to spend our money on the clinical analysts and get support from those who do cybersecurity every day. And that's when an IT external vendor is advantageous. But, for example, the people that direct report to me are now employees. Many of them were consultants, and some of the managers that report to them are now employees. So we have been insourcing positions as they become available, reclassing to for the key positions. We're trying to have the key personnel in every area be an employee, and that has not been the case up until several years ago. 2 or 3 CIOs ago, the CIO was actually a contractor, often of whoever it was that won this contract.
Thank you.
So progress is being made.
So would it be a correct statement to say this gives you an opportunity by having a 1-year contract to maybe bring some of those additions, as Director Robinson implied, to bring some of those individual positions in-house?
Absolutely, and we do have a plan in place to, obviously, we have to share positions throughout the organization strategically, but we are definitely doing that. I have at least 2 or 3 requests to hires right now that we're working on for those key positions, so we are continuously doing that.
Oh, okay, so great. So then the 1-year agreement then gives you more flexibility as the leader of the IT function here in the system to make decisions that you feel are appropriate in terms of staffing.
Exactly, because as we get closer to these extensions, this coterminous situation, if people were to get nervous, they might decide to leave in a very tight job market, and we've pegged those key resources and key personnel to get to a position where we can offer them permanent employment, so that they don't need to be concerned and we don't have to have that big drop when we get ready to do whatever our final solution is.
Okay, thank you. Makes sense.
Thank you. Any other questions for Angela? All right. That was request number 13, so we're now going to 14. Angela, you're still presenting on that one, correct?
That is correct. And when Atos split part of the company became Evident, which we just talked about, and the other state is Atos. This is a similar situation. This particular software and training module is a very extensive, very sophisticated training module that allows us to do customizations on our electronic medical record solution. And so again, we are asking to continue with this until such time as we determine our as we determine our future state. This particular breakaway Promise Point was a separate vendor, and then Atos acquired them a number of years ago. And we have had material impact on our clinical documentation improvements from the training of this team, as is evidenced by the finance reports from our CFO that you hear.
Any questions for Angela? All right, hearing no questions on item 14. Angela, thank you. Now approaching the table is the guy who has you typically the most to put on the table in front of us. Craig Williams, our Chief Administrative Officer for Operations and Development. All right, Craig, you've got the next, 9?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. Craig Williams, Chief Administrative Officer. The first one I have here is for Moises Contracting. This is an extended increased contract for $120,000. The 12-month contract period, 11/1/23 through 10/31/24. And this contractor provides continuous snow removal services to our ambulatory community health network. And this vendor is certified county MBE. And we're exercising our first renewal option on this. Vitalant, it's an execute contract for $11.55 million. It's a 36-month contract period, 7/1/24 through 6/30/27. It includes 2 one-year renewal options. And this vendor provides our blood products, as well as a medical directorship for our blood bank. Helmuth, Obata.
Excuse me, do we have a donor center here in Tonto?
So we partner with Vitalant to set up blood donation. So it's not a function of Cook County Health to do that, but they do that, and we'll host them time to time. We're actually working on. They've reached out to us about hosting a blood donation event here this fall.
Okay, so it's on a PRN basis and not scheduled. It's not I can't go down right in there and direct the writer and say, let's go give 3 or 4 units of blood.
No.
You don't mind, no?
I mean, I'm all for it. As long as I can get my flu shot, my COVID shot on the way back. It's all done at once. Give some blood.
I got 2 in the same arm a couple weeks ago, so I highly recommend it. HOK, so this is an execute contract for $3,995,724, 36-month period, 12/1/23 to 11/30/26. And HOK is going to be helping us with consulting services and development of our CCH long-term plan. And so they're providing planning services for healthcare delivery across Cook County, including maximizing county's physical assets to support the 23 to 25 strategic plan. We're working very closely with county real estate on this particular engagement as we look at some of the available parcels on this campus. GSG Consultants, it's an execute contract for $2.7 million, 36-month period, 12/1/24 to 11/30/26. And this is for the provision of architectural and engineering services for the environmental abatement, remediation, and demolition of the admin, Hectone, and Duran buildings. Steris Corporation, this is an execute contract for $702,231. It's a one-time capital purchase, and this is to provide equipment and installation for Providence Hospital sterile processing departments. We had some aged equipment there that create some regulatory concerns for us, and so we're looking to upgrade those, and we'll be doing that work this spring. There's about a 14-week lead time on the equipment.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
When we have equipment that's no longer useful to us, what do we do? What happens to that
do you want-
equipment?
So when, that's where we'll properly dispose of county asset. We work with, materials management for disposing of it. Some equipment, we go to downtown to salvage to see if, they would like to have it. But if not, then we work with our disposal vendor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, sometimes we have trade-ins options too.
Altafor Industries is an execute contract for $678,394. It's a one-time capital purchase, includes installation. And this is for the purchase and installation of new power plant equipment here at Stroger that will allow for, better, generator paralleling and emergency power backup. And we're sole sourcing, this is a sole source request because the type of generators we're, proposing are proprietary to this vendor. Mayo Collaborative Services is an execute contract for $614,938. This is a 36-month contract period, 12/1/23 to 11/30/26. And this vendor provides anatomic pathology consults for both internal and external assessments. They also provide an internal audit program to monitor our AP operations and quality systems. MGC
That's great.
Yes.
Is some of this work done on site, or do they do all of this virtual in terms of examination and QC and all that?
I know some of the slide generation and anatomic pathology is actually done here on site. I think the QC is done remotely.
Thank you.
Sure. MGC Diagnostics is an execute contract for $610,231. This is a one-time capital purchase. We're requesting to replace the equipment in the pulmonary function labs at both Stroger and Providence. The current equipment is no longer supported, has been frequently breaking down, and is really at end of service life. This request will allow us to replace that equipment as well as provide a 5-year maintenance agreement with the vendor. Olympus America is an execute contract for $273,215. It's a one-time capital purchase with a 24-month service plan. And this is for the purchase of pre-owned Olympus colonoscopes, accessories, to be placed at Stroger in the endo and GI surgery area. And Inmar Intelligence is an execute contract for $214,200. It's a 5-year contract, 11/23 through 10/28 through our GPO. And this vendor provides automation for the replenishment and tracking of medication used in our pre-configured trays in the pharmacy. And they'll use a camera imaging technology that will kind of look at each tray and ensure that we don't have any deviations from the formula for that particular tray, which should really lead to an elimination of any pharmaceutical errors as a result of those pre-configured trays. Any questions on any of those?
Any questions for Craig on request number 15 to 24?
No, I want to go back to, and this is really for Charles. It's the it's request number 20. And you indicated that we were able to trade in some old equipment.
But it's all talk. That was third. Request number 19. Yes, I'm saying sometimes we have the ability to do trade-ins.
And that reduces the cost of the equipment.
Yes.
So it'd be nice to know that when we trade in equipment, that we did trade in equipment and it was a cost savings, that's all.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Craig. The last contract to be presented is going to be presented by Donica Austin Kathy. Did I say that right? Chief Hospital Executive at Stroger.
Yes, Chair Ryder. Thank you. Good morning,
I'm always
Commissioner.
concerned that I'm getting people's names right, you know.
No
Takes a
problem.
while.
Good morning, directors.
Good morning.
Donica Austin Kathy, Chief Hospital Executive for Stroger. I have before you a request for amend, extend, and increase contract for the vendor ValueMed with the amount of $457,849. The current contract period of 2/1/2020 through 1/31/2024, with the revised contract period of 2/1/2024 through 1/31/2025. This request is to increase the number of rental PB 980 ventilators, Airvos, Visions, and 840 ventilators used by Cook County Health. The equipment is used to support respiratory needs of patients who cannot ventilate, oxygenate, or protect their own airway.
You said increase the number?
So ValueMed is our main vendor for rental of ventilators. So this is for our non-invasive ventilators, our BiPAP, CPAPs, as well as our Bella Vistas, which are the adult and pediatric ventilators that we use to support lung support.
The part that caught my attention when you said increase the number, as if we're not replacing, we are actually adding to. So my next question is there an anticipation of some issues that would create such a need?
Right now, we have a number of ventilators on hand, but this gives us an opportunity to scale up if needed, and for the ventilators that we would need for adult and pediatric population.
No, I understand that. My question is, do you see something on the horizon that may create a problem?
Not at this time, but what I will say is that if the numbers were to rise and we would need ventilators, everyone in the city would be going to certain suppliers, and that would not give us the opportunity to scale up at the rate that we would need to.
Fantastic, thank you.
And just adding to Donica's question, it's actually a preparation and response. As I said, nothing that we see and identify at this time, but it is in response to the seasonality that we had last year, that we saw increases of RSV, we saw increases of other pathogens, and then this year there is a prediction that flu might be a little bit stronger than it's been in the past, and so we see an increase of hospitalizations. And in general, a good thing that you see from our finances is that we've seen an increase in volume. So it's both preparing for our what is our new norm of a larger census, and then also as Chief Hospital Executive for Stroger said, it is really also just preparing. We don't want to be caught off guard. This gives us the contract availability to have those in reserve and lets us be prepared for both increase of volume and unforeseen circumstances, and to lock in the units as necessary.
Understood. The last part of her answer answered all of my questions, so I think that's fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Having heard request number 1 through 25, Charles, do you have anything else to add?
Not to those requests.
Is there a motion to approve items 4A, contract procurement items containing request number 1 through 25, subject to completion of review by contract compliance? So moved. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we're going to continue with Charles, as we always do. And Charles, you've got the fiscal 2023 third quarter report of contracts executed under the authority of the Chief Executive Officer.
Yes, sir.
All right.
As you see on the screen, there's purchase under the authority of Chief Executive Officer, contracts under $150,000 for June, July, and August. I'll do a summation rather than reading the entire report. 27 contracts issued. Breakdown of those, 9 of those were capital equipment contracts. 9 of those were grant-related procurements, and 7 of those 27 vendors were GPOs with our group procurement organization. Looking at some of the higher dollar ones, CDW government, $146,205 was a GPO purchase for our Tableau core-based and Tableau's creative service software. Just below that, Chestnut Health was evaluation services, $138,000. Gubair LLC. A little further down the page, two-thirds down the page is pharmaceuticals for Lipido drugs for our pharmacy, $100,000. Looking over page number 2, we had Landor's Muchin Ltd. For legal services for Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and Department of Human Rights and Commission of Human Rights, $149,000 contract there for 12 months. Mobius Therapeutic, another pharmaceutical, Mitosol kits for optimized use, $100,000. And the 2 grants rounding out at the bottom with the Board of Trustees for the University of Illinois for $114,000 there for a project entitled Primary Care Training and Enhancement and Task Treatment Alternatives for Safe Communities for Community and Law Enforcement Protection, $107,000. 2-month agreement there. Any questions? And obviously all of these we did receive responsive letters from the Office of Contract Compliance before we executed them.
I'm just curious about the last 2. What are those items on the last page?
They're the 2 grant-related contracts.
What does that entail? Just educate me on the purpose and intent. I read the words, but I don't know what they mean from a programmatic perspective.
I might need to let you. Dr. Asper, are you familiar with those 2? Sorry. OD2A. Okay.
Okay, yes, so Director, these are both, a grant for opioid education and Narcan, distribution. And so we're working with this partner, task, to do that for us. That's the last one. Then the second to last one, primary care training enhancement. Okay, yeah, the second to last one is not mine, actually.
No, the second to the last one is a program that allows us to work with the University of Illinois to look at working at integrating doulas and other features for maternal mortality reduction. And so that's
Excuse me, you said doula?
doulas. Okay. And then also in other parts of prevention that could allow the mother to have a stronger voice in their delivery process. And so it's something that we believe, we agree that will help to hopefully reduce maternal mortality, especially disparities in maternal mortality.
So this program trains doulas as well?
It provides doulas to the mother.
It provides doulas. Thank you all.
All right. Any other questions on CEO? Hearing none. Moving on to Charles' report of emergency purchases.
Yes, during the month of September, we reported 3 emergency purchases to you. One on September 21. For vendor will provide legal advice to the Office of General Counsel with Business Clock Hill, again, legal services for a 12-month period, $1.5 million. The next 2 were either extensions and increase or just increase to 2 contracts that we've had in place. First one is to increase the contract with LivaNova USA, providing contract amendment to increase the not to exceed. Vendor would provide 10 vagus nerve stimulations, VNS therapy systems for the Department of Neuroscience. This is technologies for drug-resistant epileptic patients, $447,000. And then finally, we extended and increased the contract with Shredded USA with a Stursackle company. This is on behalf of the Department of Materials Management for shredding services, and we increased that contract by $55,000. Any questions?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Next, we're going to go to items under the Chief Financial Officer, Pam Casara. She's going to present for us the receive and file of grant award related items.
Good morning again, everyone. Pam Casara, Chief Financial Officer. So you have before you receive and file grant award related items. The total there is $3.7 million. The executive sponsors are in the room if you have any specific questions related to any of the grants, but in summary, 2.8 million of the 3.7 are new grants, and about 900,000 are either amendments, renewals, or extensions. Any questions?
I have one question. I am just curious. Michigan Tech, can you tell me what they're doing? And I see what's the purpose. I'm just curious what they're doing. The very first one, I'm sorry.
Dr. Fagan, Michigan Tech University. I'll read it to you. New approach to improving coronary revascularization in patients with stable coronary artery disease.
You can say it from there. I am just literally curious. Oh, don't worry about it. Then it's not that critical. It's not that critical. I just saw the university and I said, are they creating some biotech stuff there? So I was just really curious.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none? All right. Next is a report on the fiscal year 2023 financials. I believe last month we received the report, but you didn't actually have the opportunity to present because we were running along. That
is correct.
So I think we're all very excited to hear you walk us through it. So.
Sure. Presenting for you today the year-to-date financials through August. Happy to report we are still very positive to budget, $427 million favorable on an accrual basis and $382 million favorable on a cash basis. That is comprised of a positive revenue variance due to the higher than budgeted volumes on the hospital and clinic side, and also the higher than budgeted membership on the county care side. On the expense side, we have an unfavorable variance to budget due to the higher than budgeted membership. The claims expense is higher than we budgeted. And then county care did have an unfavorable variance to budget. This is due to a true up of their IBNR reserve, which is incurred but not received. They work with an actuary, Milliman, to estimate what the claims are that are out there, and they did an adjustment. So they are now unfavorable to budget, but still positive. Bottom line is we'll talk about in a minute. And again, the membership is still through August over 450,000. Next slide. So again, here I'll just point out the total revenue line, again, $825 million better than budget, and expenses $363 million worse than budget, again, being driven by that claims expense line. So bottom line, $316 million positive. We were actually budgeted to be negative $110 million due to budgeting for redetermination to begin at the beginning of the year, and it did not. So we are $427 million better than budget. Next slide. So again, the volumes that drive the revenues, very strong on the inpatient side. Emergency room visits continue to lag behind budget, but are stronger than the last 2 years at this time. Surgeries are better than budget. ACHN visits combined are better than budget. Again, the primary care is less than we budgeted because we did budget for some more providers to come on that have not yet been hired. And then the county care membership, again, greater than budget due to pause on redetermination. Next slide. This again just depicts graphically basically the same information, so you can see the trends over time after the initial dip due to COVID, and then the climb back up to normalized levels. Next slide. Payer mix. So here, on a year-to-date basis, we are still showing Medicaid increasing and uncompensated decreasing. But I did make note that this is the first month of the July to August change that we did see an ever so slight decrease in the Medicaid as a percent of total and an increase in uncompensated. And we'll continue to monitor this as the redetermination process continues. Next slide. Rev cycle. So rev cycle, all in the green except AR greater than 90, and that was entirely driven by the claims we had on hold this past year related to those asylum seekers that did not go all the way through the process to get qualified for Medicaid. We were holding those claims. It could be a variety of things. They either didn't complete the paperwork, we couldn't track them down after services were provided, but we were holding those claims for the past year, and those actually got written off in the next month. So, but that was what was keeping that indicator. I do want to pause here again just to give kudos once again to Curtis Haley, Chief Revenue Officer, and his team, because really, in addition to the higher volumes, you know, the efforts in the revenue cycle turnaround have really helped our financials this past 2 years on a cash basis, right? We're working old accounts, bringing in cash from prior years in addition to cash for the current year's services. Next slide. Denials. The upper right box there, the industry standard is to be below 2% of cash collections. We've been hitting on that the whole year, almost 2 years. The quarterly government denials as well continue next to nothing, continue to be very, very low for Medicare and Medicaid. And then the big box in the middle, we continue to look at the underlying reasons for the denials that do happen and try to attack the underlying reason. And again, I do want to point out that denials written off or in the month of August are not for services, right, that happened in the month of August. We're still cleaning up things that have happened from a year or more ago. Next slide. So this one is time again to do our annual pricing review. You may recall we take a look at, I know it's small on the screen, but you have in your materials in the middle there section, a comparison of several services to our neighbors, U of I, Loyola, Mount Sinai, Rush, and sort of our prices, the average of the prices, and then the new price that we're proposing. And we go through this exercise every year. Debbie, you want to scroll back up to the top? You can see we are allowed by a lot of our contracts an aggregate 4% increase. And so we do want to take advantage of that. It does gain us a few $1 million a year in additional reimbursement. In that process, we actually raise some things higher, and you can see with lab, in the instance of lab, we actually decrease those prices quite a bit. Any questions? I'll stop here because I do have a phone a friend if there's any questions specifically related to this item.
Pam, I just have not a question, just ask if you would mind comment. It's great work, you know, Curtis and the folks in the rev cycle business. One question, just in general, can you comment on the challenges, maybe from in terms of like some of our Medicare Advantage plans, et cetera, other folks like United Healthcare? Do we have any, from your perspective, challenges with those in particular?
We do.
The industry is complaining about Medicare Advantage.
We do, and Curtis, if you're still on, I know you have a meeting, but if you're still on, you can speak to it as well. I mean, they do play some games, especially around the denials. You know, some requesting paper claims, saying they never got claims, or, you know, so but we work through those with the reps for those payers, and largely have been, I would say, pretty stable in that arena, but we do have problems from time to time. Are you still on, Curtis?
I am, and I agree. Aside from what you mentioned, that's the common issues that we're seeing for the Medicare MCOs. We are seeing, or we are having some issues getting aligned with a new contract with the Humana MCO, but it seems as of late that we may get some additional traction there to close that out.
Yeah. So not unusual to have issues, but by and large, we work through them pretty well.
Thank you.
So if no other questions, we can go on to the next slide.
So you utilized your phone a friend?
Yes.
You have 2 other lifelines.
Yes, okay. This one just depicts, again, in addition to the traditional charity and bad debt and other uncompensated care, the other services we provide to the county through CIRMAC, JTDC, and public health. You can see that in total, the totals there are pretty consistent across the years, and as a percent of our revenues and costs, We are seeing a little dip in charity care and increase in bad debt as of this point in the year, but sometimes, as you may recall, there's a flip-flop as, folks that may be in bad debt ultimately qualify for charity, and then, we move that to the charity line. Next slide. We have our savings initiatives for this past year. So 9/12 of the way through the year, we would have hoped to be at 75%. We're at 67 through August, but those ones that are still yellow were actually budgeted to happen the latter half of the year. So we anticipate those will be caught up by the end of the year. And then county care, of course, the story, the graph at the bottom, the blue bars are the budget and the red bars are the actual. So we are significantly over budget in membership. You can see August, very slight decrease in that bar due to redetermination. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, the operating gain, $619,000. Their budget was $1.5 million, so they're $977,000 behind budget now, but still positive bottom line, and that was due to the true up of the IBNR reserve. Any questions?
Any questions for Pam? Hearing none. Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
Next up on the agenda is our quarterly update on the VIA contract for contract management and nursing registry services. And coming back to us is Charles Jones, our Chief Procurement Officer, along with Dr. Bina Peters, our Chief Nursing Officer. So. Oh, yeah, really quickly, Debbie is reminding me that we did not do the motion to receive and file the grant award related item. So I would look for a motion to receive and file item 5A, the grant award related items.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Hearing none, the ayes have it. All right, back to you guys.
Okay. Good morning, directors.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bina Peters, Chief Nursing Executive. Today, presenting your quarterly update for the VIA nursing contract. We'll go through the scope of the contract and an update on where we are with the new contract. Also, we'll talk about some of the challenges as well as the plan we have ahead of us. So, as all of you know, the VIA contract support the nursing, staffing need across the system. That includes any variation in staffing need related to increased census, high acuity, as well as support the migrant clinic to provide safe care. So the benefits, all of you have seen this slide before. Prior to this contract, we only had 6 agency contract vendors, and that now we have 60 vendors. Really help us to improve our fill rate from 30% to 98%. Know that if you don't have enough staff at the bedside, that is going to directly impact the quality of the care. So this is a huge support to the nursing operation to provide safe quality care. Along with that, this contract helps us to really streamline our billing process and also help us to pay the vendors in a timely manner. Also use the same vendors to address some of the pandemic and post-pandemic patient care needs. Currently, we have the large pool to recruit from locally as well as nationally, and also we are 100% compliant with providing MBE, WBE vendors for. Next slide. So where are we with the contract? This contract ends this month, so we started the RFC process almost a year ago, and the group selected through the process. The VIA will be our future vendor. It was approved by the board in August, so our goal is to start with the new contract by beginning of November 1st. Next slide, please. So just want to share that whenever I come with the VIA, I always talked about where are we with the hiring. Our goal is to hire our own nurses. So we have a number of vacancies across the system. And this is where we create strong partnership with the HR, Ms. Amos and her team. And the last quarter, we hired more nurses than the separations. We gained 46 nurses compared to the separation, which is huge. And also with the new process, We are projected to hire more than 90 nurses this quarter. So really our goal is to recruit our nurses, and that way we can slide the agency back to pre-pandemic. Next slide, please.
Wow.
The other factors affecting the nursing of staffing availability is the nursing turnover. So if you look at it, the nursing turnover is a huge discussion across the nation. Nationally, last year we are around 22.5%, and Cook County Health System, we maintain our nurse vacancy rate below the national benchmark. In fact, 8.4% is actually below the 25th percentile. So part of this retention effort, we are collaborating with multiple, frontline staff as well as the leaders to create the retention committee, and also staff wellness program to make sure that our working environment is feasible for nurses to provide the best care to our patients. Next slide.
Congrats. That's impressive. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dr. Means, but that is worth noting.
Yeah.
All the challenges that we've had in this, in the industry, but in particular, our institution, that's a data boy.
And if you look,
Tremendous.
just anecdotally, if you look at that last slide, I mean, I'm just like doing rough math in my head. The amount of the declination in turnover for us relative, I mean, does it look like I'm old? It looks like it was flat nationally from last year to this year, and the declination, that's roughly a 25%, improvement on the turnover. I mean, that's incredible. Not only are we less than, or not only are we less than half of what the rest of the nation is, we dropped like dramatically relative to the rest of the country staying flat.
That's just tremendous good news.
Thank you, directors. Again, This is the whole team working together to address some of the challenges. So thank you so much. I'll take it back to my team out there.
Yeah, but it also says something about our workplace and the fact that we're not losing nurses at the rate that other places are. So it says something about this is a good place to work and recruit. And if you want to bring people here, this is the place to be if you're a nurse.
It is a great place to work, and I know this is Finance Committee, and I don't talk about quality, but we have an outstanding team of nurses. They are amazing in their quality outcomes too. So I'm proud to be part of that team. Next slide, please.
And I would.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sam.
How does that actually, because this is just another accolade that you got, that the organization has, how does that figure into attracting more people to come here? Because I know we still have a big hole to dig out of. This is great, without a doubt, but I know the hole is huge. So how do we utilize that to help us pull in more people?
We are actually getting outside of Cook County to share the best practices, to different nursing organizations. Two of our nurses presented at the Illinois Organization of Nurse Executive on some of the activities we are doing, one to provide safe care and also to improve the work environment. So my correctional health nurse leader presented at a national conference. So I think this is an opportunity for us to tell the actual story of Cook County and the nurses here, what we do. So more and more we are getting out and sharing those information to attract more people. And plus, during the open house, we had, I'm going to probably skipping, but we had a nursing school summit. Over 18 nursing schools came to us, and we shared all our quality, what we are doing. I think there are multiple channels we are using to share the story to attract more nurses.
Okay, maybe I asked this before, but not of you. Okay, so if we look at the funnel, and so those 28 schools that you have, and I can't remember how many people we actually need down here. How can we get more in the funnel? So the question that I asked in some previous session was, how do we get more people? One thing I put out, but I think we may not be allowed to do, is can we reach outside other places inside of our great state? Also, can we go beyond that? Because if we only have so many people in our state, we're only going to get so many. So we're never going to fill up and accomplish our task. So we do have to expand our boundaries in order to accomplish the task, such as, you know, we probably can't do this, but there are countries that specialize in nurses. Why can't we do something to bring in more people? If we can't find it at home, find it abroad.
Well, I think that what we're finding is we are finding people here, so we face a different challenge. I mean, we're not facing the same challenge everyone else is. There are rules around nurse licensing in Illinois that you have to be licensed in Illinois to be able to be a registered nurse here. But I think one of the things that speaks to why, you know, knowing people in the industry who've been attracted towards coming to work at Cook County Hospital, they work in other not-for-profit / corporate systems that have not handled things perfectly, and both doctors and nurses specifically know about our benefits, know about our structure, also know that they have an outlet for a collective voice. And I know that we, you know, especially with our representative employees, they push us a lot, but we've also responded to that and have listened to them, and they, you know, we have, they keep us on our toes, but we actually react to that in a way where there has been, you know, we react in a positive way versus what other systems, they either just throw more money or just recycle people. Folks recognize as they come and work here, they're going to get a good working environment, and they're going to be, they feel like they have a place in the system. So it's not just stable, but they have an ability to communicate through either their union or through their staff association, whatever they, or through their departments in order to, you know, be able to, you know, be practitioners and take care of patients. So I think that speaks to the unique nature of being the largest safety net hospital that is, you know, has gotten some lift underneath its wings. And Bina, you've been here a while now.
Yes.
You've seen the change at the ground level and at the leadership level. So I think you probably can appreciate this, you know, being able to get here. This is not the path you were started on.
Well, it's not the path, and that was not the path I expected to start, but I shared with Mr. Rocha this also the other day. Like, the voice of nursing, the practice of nursing is elevated significantly for the last 3 years, and all the supports to the board too. I can comment on what's going on with international recruiting. We did explore that. It usually takes 12 to 18 months to get an international nurse here. By the time, we don't know what it is. So that's pretty challenging for us, and the timing is one. The second piece is there is a state legislation, you know, in the process to have the compact licensing. You know, to be part of the compact licensing, that means the nurses from the other states can practice here. So it's in progress at the state level, and we, Cook County, we support that legislation. So there are a number of activities to look at expanding our pool outside of Illinois.
So here's the thought. You had the 28 schools, and those are 28 schools somewhere in our area, correct?
Midwest.
Right. Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's regional.
Illinois and Indiana, that's our main schools, came to our summit.
Approximately how many students?
So, you know, we had over 18, approximately we are expected to have 118 nursing students start during the fall here at the practicum. And we are expanding that to all sites, the Georgia, Providence, and Public Health. So there's a lot of good activities from that nursing school summit.
Well, we can share, and we'll share with the board. We worked with Bina. We have a 5-year strategy that lays out all the different ways that we're pursuing to increase the funnel. The nursing, that was part of our education strategy, which was leading to more clinical placements. We have found that if students actually come and train here and they know us a little bit more and they see the great work, that was your question, what are we doing to share that great work? The clinical
training, placements, and rotations here lets them actually get a better flavor, and hopefully, they'll say, this is where I want to come work. So by increasing it by 118 slots every cycle that they come through, you're now increasing dramatically the number of students that get exposure to what it's like to be at Cook County Health, and we're hoping that the retention rate will spread to those students. However, we had not historically concentrated on getting those placements here or having an initiative with the universities. Bina and her team did that, and they were able to create that fair and that symposium, which then led to the signing of the 118, and we hope to expand to more, and then hopefully have more coming. We also, by changing some of the provisions in the employment plan that were approved, we were able to now have a different way of hiring. That's why you saw this big spike this month. We were able to get that through. We'll continue to look at other elements that you've talked about, how we can continue to expand to recruit more out of state. We're hoping that these will start to increase that number, but are still looking forward at what it would take, whether or not we would need to look at a contract of employment for that hiring. The timeline that Bina said, even after you get the engagement in the agreement, they have to pass the NCLEX, and then they sign on to get licensed, and then they come here. And so that was a lengthy process, but we do have that vendor ready if we can't make headway with the previous strategy. So we'll come back to the board and review those contract availabilities.
So you're doing everything I was asking. When you said regional, that's when you kind of stopped me in my questions. Because I said, okay, she's doing it. Okay, so fantastic.
And we'll give you a copy of it's a grant. It's a chart. It looks a little interesting, but it does have everything laid out in there. If you can read small, you'll look at it. But Bina and her team are doing an excellent job at moving that forward.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just trying to help get.
Thank you.
We have such a big hole.
Yeah.
And if we can fill that, then that would put us in great shape.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on something, and Israel mentioned it, is retention. The two aspects of this, recruitment and retention. You need to bring in new people. You need to keep the people you already have. And so what it appears is we're doing a better job than most nationally in terms of keeping people here. So to me, that says there's something about working here that's different than working other places. What people sometimes overlook are the intangibles of a workplace. Money is one aspect. How much money you make is one aspect, but they're the intangibles that are attractive too. And so I would maintain that we have a secret sauce, and we need to figure out what that secret sauce is and promote that moving forward, because this is a place that people not only come to work, but they come here to stay.
Oh, thank you. A part of recruitment, I meet with all the new nurses quarterly across the system with all my leaders to just listen directly from them. So we'll talk about some of the strategies we are doing to really, look at the staff retention and also workplace wellness program. This slide, I think we all know there are national nursing shortage issues. I don't have to go through this, but the recent studies came from the American College of Nursing group is 1 in 5 nurses, RNs, are projected to leave by 2027 for a variety of reasons. So that is a concern to many across the country, and that's why we are really looking at all the options we have, including what else we can do to support the nurses. Already, over 100,000 nurses left the bedside during COVID. So the market is still, very tight across the country. What are the specific opportunities specific to Cook County Health? We had to advocate legislative changes to hire retired CCH nurses to fill a part-time position. That is something happening in the world of teachers and also other public health systems. I know Jeff and her team is exploring all the options. We need to continue to partnership to attract leadership team, because I still have, 20+% of leadership vacancies. So that's one area we are focusing to really bring the strong leaders here. Also, there's lots of work done by Ms. Amos and her team to decrease the length of hiring time. But the nursing world, actually, those days are coming to less than 2 weeks. So we have some opportunity to explore that piece. The new hiring process should help us to achieve those goals. And also we have gaps in hiring part-time nurses, because one of the biggest, out there is flexibility. And so that also we are partnering with to see how can we get more part-time nurses and with the benefits. So we are continuing to work on many aspects of nurse hiring and retention to decrease the agency as well as to improve the care. Next slide, please. So what are the actions in motion? We talked about we have a new hiring process, which is in the pilot program. We are seeing an amazing result from that. So we will evaluate and see how can we do to sustain that. There's a lot of marketing, and we are doing quite a bit marketing to recruit the agency nurses so they can join us. So that actually we are seeing also the number of our own agency, the nurses came through agency, converting to the CCH staff. Hiring practices are getting optimized every month, I feel. We have quite a bit work on retention and recruitment along with the retention bonus program. And I mentioned about nursing school partnership and also multiple nursing hiring fairs and nursing retention. So all those are in motion to address to optimize the workforce number of workforce optimization here at Cook County. Next slide, please. With that, I'll invite Mr. Jones to talk about the part of the maybe baby aspect of this contract.
Yeah. Thank you, Bina. Charles Jones, Chief Procurement Officer. So last quarter, I provided you the good news that Fire was paying their minority vendors starting in May within 30 days of invoicing. This quarter, I'm pleased to inform you that they've expanded the vendor pool. So we used to have 45 plus vendors. Now there's over 60. So key takeaway from this slide is those vendors with an asterisk by their name have been expanded since the last quarter. Those vendors in the light blue are nationally certified MWBE agencies. Now, based on our county goal, we do not get credit for them because they're not certified by the County of Cook or the City of Chicago. However, I believe it's noteworthy to know that Fire has these national minority vendors within their portfolio. And then those vendors in gold are county certified vendors. Before we had Advanced Care Services, P&I, Professional Nursing Inc., and the nurse agencies that was formerly prime vendors with us that are now subs with us. Please inform you that there's 2 additional that are county certified, Aceda Solution Inc. and MedPro Staffing. So we've gone from 3 to 5 county certified vendors here in this area of 60 plus vendors. All right, next slide, Debbie. And this slide shows you the diversity of the supplier hours for this latest quarter that we've added on, June of 23 to August of 23. We've trended up to over 18,000 hours there. If you look back at the same period last year, we were at 19,000, 7.2%. So basically, the same time of the year, we're trending likewise with the usage, which is somewhere close to 6% of the total hours utilized within this contract. Any questions?
I have a question, Dr. Peters. There was an article that I came across maybe a few weeks ago, and it was talking about how there's a trend with the travel nurses that is starting to go down. And I was wondering how does that actually compare to what we're experiencing here at Cook County?
So the trend is the travel nursing is going down. So actually our request to hire is improving. So that we are seeing, our requests are filled faster. However, many travel nurses are also considering a job at CCH. So I think it's up in a positive way. We are seeing a change.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. What is it? Is there a particular target? I see back in March of 2021, May 2021, it was at 10.09%, and then in June 2023, August 23 is at 5.9. Is that a target? Are you just measuring this, or do you have a specific target?
Well, the target of the overall goal from the Department of Office of Contract Compliance is 35% either minority or women-owned with total usage. Obviously, back May of 21, we were still in the midst of COVID and needing people for COVID and vaccine more than likely. But also too, these numbers are linear with the total hours utilized for the contract. So I'd say we probably should look at the total hours utilized more than the percentage, because, so we're trending upward there.
Yeah, I see the absolute hours are going up, but it's,
Yeah, because I don't,
what's is there a correlation between your target and the hours?
I don't think it's linear with the percentage of, hours versus the total hours.
I can comment
We
on
should
that.
note that the goal for contract compliance, that 35% is the goal for all contracts. It's not specific
Yes.
to this, and, you know, every
It's
area.
not specific to.
It's not
the
specific,
agency.
it's not specific to agency. 35% is the goal that we would like across the board for all contracts, and we aspire to do that with every contract. If we were to set goals based on, relative goals based on each industry, and to get them to a place where then we could set a new goal, it would probably be much different than the 35%. The 35% sometimes, you know, it's the blanket goals sometimes mislead people when you're
Sure.
looking at these, you know, discrete industries.
Right,
Just
right,
want to make
sure.
a comment. What we control, we accept 100% of the qualified nurses provided by diverse vendors. So that's how we say we will not say no to them. We give the priority and we open those to them. So we make sure that we accept all the qualified nurses through any of those minority vendor from sources.
So what you're saying is that as part of VIA, we may be getting a part. We're utilizing the places that would drive diversity. They may not show up in the numbers.
Yeah, because again, the needs increase so much. Only thing we can control is we accept 100%. And the pool is increasing. And so then it's also can get diluted. That's why the hours, the way it is much higher compared to last quarter.
I appreciate it, and I know that you're sensitive to, which we all appreciate, that you all are sensitive to the pricing. Somebody's at 140, somebody else is at 135,
Yeah.
20. You know,
Well,
you're making decisions.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing which gets lost in this is that VIA is a master contract, so there's suppliers. So we're utilizing the diverse suppliers underneath the VIA contract, but the VIA contract taken as a whole, does that drive that linear number that is appearing there?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I think to another key takeaway is, as Dr. Peter said, we accept 100% of the qualified candidates from our Cook County certified minority vendors. So once you tap out in that pool, you tapped out there. So that's why it's important that we've grown that now with, this month, I think, with the 2 additional now. So we've gone from 3 to 5. I would expect our trend to even go north with these 2 new vendors.
Can we look for the next, not next time, for the next update we have on this? See if you can give us a number that is more reflective of what's actually happening in practice versus the way the VIA contracts is showing up based on the way we do the data for our normal reporting.
Yes, we could.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense to you? Okay, good. I barely made sense to myself. All right. All right.
We don't want you to get into argument with yourself.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll invite you over sometime when it happens. All right. Well, that brings us to the end, and having exhausted our agenda, unless anyone has any other further business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would just like to compliment, Dr. Peters and Charles Jones for their work in this area. It's been, it's not an easy task, so I want to, we oftentimes, ask questions that are maybe perceived as penetrating, but this is good work. I appreciate it, and I just want to acknowledge that. And I think that the board appreciates what you all have done over the last 12 to 15 months, including, I don't see Ms. Amos, but, this collective effort, Israel, to your team, needs to be congratulated. So thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I fully adopt that statement, so.
So having exhausted the agenda and knowing that we have another meeting coming up right behind us, we are adjourned. Thank you. All right.
How's everything going?
Good, good. The last couple of days, it's just I walk out of one thing and I walk right to the next thing.
One fun party?
Oh, my gosh. Doing things.